You be you, man.
Yeah, but I've run
You
the
be
time
you.
down. We had some green room stuff to talk about. Elgato
Indeed.
Stream Deck and Teams plugins.
Yep. Indeed.
Well, what are you going to say about it? Did you get it going?
I did get it going.
Mm-hmm.
So, there was a big buzz all across the galaxy. Okay, maybe not the galaxy, but Microsoft released buttons, functions for the Elgato Stream Decks for you to be able to control things in Teams, like give reactions, mute, turn on and off your video, etc. Raise your hand. And so there was a big buzz. People did videos. They were great. And so I went out and grabbed it. And I set up, I have it's not a mini, but it's 5x3.
5x3?
Right?
Yep.
And I set it up and I put the things where I want them to be, the actions. And I was using it this morning. And then I come to find out someone said they've pulled that plugin and I went and looked at Elgato's support Twitter, and it said they pulled it because of privacy or security or something like that.
Ooh. Serious.
So people can't go get it now. But I used it this morning on a few calls. Works great. But Darrell, you said, and you got it, right?
Yeah, I did.
You said there was some comments about using it and distraction or whatever.
Yeah. Like, just think about buttons and for productivity. It's the Stream Deck as a productivity tool. But step through it. Lorian said, "Oh, look, I haven't been able to get the buttons, so I'm just going to use the mouse because I'm already looking at the screen." Ask that question again. If you're already looking at the screen, you already have your hand on the mouse, you're already 1 or 2 clicks away. Is it really that much of an effort to push that reaction button, unmute or mute, etc.? Because if you glance down, you're looking away from the screen, you push the reaction, you look back up. Did I react? Okay, I'm happy now. I wonder, manage it with 2 hands. I don't know, like the Stream Deck definitely can be a helpful productivity tool, and I've been using the buttons as I've got them working for meetings. But yeah, ask that question.
Yeah, I think it depends on how you use it and how you set it up. I was thinking as you were talking, what if you put the Stream Deck like right below your monitor, right? And so you're looking and you just go like that, right? And you just kind of, maybe. But the way I set it up right up in front of my mouse. And when I'm in a meeting, if I am not presenting, then I'm not going to have my hand on the mouse anyway, unless I want to go and do reactions or whatever. So I'll just, the Stream Deck has a little knob on the middle button, a little kind of raised thing. You can find that, and once you get used to it, yeah, it's basically your center key. Once you get used to it, you know what button to press. Does it take your eye off? Maybe, but are you staring into the camera the whole time or staring at your screen the whole time when you're in a meeting? I don't, but I get it. I get the thought of, I understand what he was saying about the whole, transition. Yeah. I think I'll get used to it and I won't have that transition time, but.
Yeah. Yep. Well, that's the Elgato Stream Deck and Teams buttons. We expect them to come back. Bit of fun if you got it. But yeah, let's rock on with the show. Hello and welcome to the 365 Mr. Center show.
What is up with that?
What?
What's wrong with your voice there?
I was trying to do your voice. Did I get close?
Absolutely not. I don't know what that was. Here, how about
You do your voice.
I'm going to do it. I'll do it, and then you can practice it on your own time. Hello, No, I'm just joking. See, that was funny.
Wow.
Come on now.
Welcome,
Hello,
everyone.
welcome. It is episode 271 on this beautiful day. I hope the weather is beautiful. And even if it's not beautiful where you are alive, you are kicking, as they say around these parts. And we're glad you're here and sharing your time with us. Thank you so much for being here. While you're here, let's go ahead and do the whole thumbs up. If you're watching the video on YouTube, give us a thumbs up. Go ahead. Just go give that thumbs up.
It
If
could
you're,
be, Daniel, that a bit
yeah,
like giving the Uber tips. You might want to reserve that tip until the food is delivered.
I would appreciate, Darrell, you just be quiet while I talk through this and not give them options not to give a thumbs up. Thank you very much, sir. Good day, sir. So if you're listening on the audio podcast, thank you so much. How about giving us a rating? Have you thought about that? That would be great. Give us a 5-star rating on whatever platform. We're on all of the audio podcast platforms out there. So would love to get your rating there. Thank you so much. And make sure that you follow us on socials at 365 MCS everywhere. We're here for you. So engage with us, ask questions, discuss in the community. Would love to have you. So thank you so much. This week we have some team stuff to talk about, pretty much. It seems like, and then maybe some talking about some feeds. So getting
Yep,
us fed, right?
exactly. Yep. The smorgasbord of feeds. Daniel, we can start off with a change in Viva goals, if you will. Let's bring that up.
Let's do it. So this is projects in quotes. In Viva goals is changing to initiatives in quotes. MC 510329. And if you are familiar with Microsoft's Viva Goals platform, you'll notice that there are these things called projects inside of goals. Well, they're renaming it to really align it with the OKR methodology, which is what Viva Goals is all about, right? Is those key results. And so they're going to rename it to initiatives. But that is not the only thing, my friends, is that Microsoft's going to allow you to rename it to whatever you want it to be. So if you liked it as projects, you can rename it back to projects, if you so choose. So this will be, this is not going to affect any organizations with existing users and in your tenant. This will be new organizations will use that initiatives term, and then they'll be able to you'll be able to rename that if you so choose for your tenant. This is rolling out mid-February, so in a week-ish or so, and expected to be completed in late February. So it should be pretty quick. We use goals on the leadership team for. We've started using it and such. And so some things, I'll be honest, with Viva Goals is a bit confusing for me, and that just may be me, and that's okay. But more alignment to the OKR methodology, I think, will help with understanding, especially those that are coming at it from a methodology and not a technology, if that makes sense. Right? From a point of view of, I understand what this is. Now let's use Viva Goals to do it. Then I think that would be good.
Yeah, good initiative. And thank you, Andy, for telling us the dad joke there. It was
Yes.
clear. It needed to be said.
That's right on target, I think. And I think Microsoft Teams needs to be on targeted as well.
Oh, yes. Yes, they do. They need to align. They need to stop being the rebellious teenager and doing their own teens. Ooh, the rebellious teenager. All the puns are coming out today. Doing their own thing. Well, teams are going to align with targeted release, the release pattern for releasing early experiences of software in Microsoft 365, MC 510331. It is as it says. What does this mean? Remember what targeted release is. That if you turn it on in your organization, you've got it two options. You can turn it on for a group of people, or for all the organization, and it means that you'll get software updates early for OneDrive, SharePoint, Office on the web, the admin center, and some components of Exchange Online. We've had targeted release for some time, Daniel, and known by other names, and it feels like more should be on that roster of software. Good to see Teams coming to it, but what's your thoughts around targeted release in general and how it should be used?
Well, I feel like Teams has always been the rogue agent, right? Has been, you could set up and say, I want my tenant to be this way, whether it's standard release or targeted release for some users. Yet Teams could be set up and do its own thing, and it did not coincide with that. There's reasons behind that. I'm not knocking, that capability. There was reasons why, but I do like this capability of being able, of bringing it in, but we're also able to, and then I'm sure going to cover this, go ahead and set a policy to where it lives outside of that.
Yep.
So I kind of like the idea. Now, this is not a possibility right now, but I kind of like the idea of saying everything's standard, but let's turn on targeted release for Exchange or for SharePoint for certain users so that they can see the new stuff, but only for that service or something. I think there could be some business cases for that. There's not that functionality, but I could see there's business cases for that for sure.
One view of the targeted release program and your people on it is that they're the canaries in the mine. That you're giving early access so that they can see how might this land. Are there going to be any things we need to consider in a change plan to prepare people? Is this drastically changing any kind of work practices and flows? Okay, for the Teams option, you're right. It's good to see it now aligned with targeted release. But as you alluded to, and it's in the message, you can still use the policy if you only want to give early access to Teams and not the rest of the targeted release early access to an individual. So that is good to have that option. I tend to disagree around whether we should focus on just one product or not. It might be useful for someone who's a product manager and wants to just focus on that and be able to talk about that early experience only. But for your early adopters, it's good to have it all together as a full tool set to, because that's how they work. They don't think about, I go over here and here's my feedback on SharePoint, and over here, here's my feedback on the, what do they call it? Some components of Exchange Online.
Well, I don't, you could be wrong. It's fine. If you disagree with me, that's okay.
Wrong?
I'm just joking. It's a joke, people.
Oof. And sorry. It also does not affect people on organizations on TAP. TAP is TAP. Teams
TAP.
Technology Adoption Program.
TAP is TAP, and it'll be TAP.
Yup. So that is going to change. Begin rolling out late February. Expect to be complete mid-March. And it should make things a bit easier for organizations who do have targeted release groups of people. Daniel,
Yes.
I think I was a bit upset that you sent a message to me outside of my work hours the other night. And 3 a.m. I didn't need that reminder or that question about the show.
Well, the question is, why were you up at 3 a.m. to see it? I'm just going to...
Oh, I wasn't.
Sheesh. Schedule send suggestions available in Microsoft Teams chat, MC510792. And just as it says, these are schedules, scheduling for.
Give me that number again, sorry.
Sure, 510792.
792. Mm-hmm.
So this is, we're able to schedule chats, right? We can schedule sending one now manually. You could say, I want to send this at a certain time. Okay. Well, this is using Viva Insights to give you suggestions on when you should send it based upon the work hours set by the person you're sending it to, right? This is especially good for those organizations that are working across time zones, like my organization, both with clients and with our internal people. Sometimes we forget, and friends. So this is, again, yes, it is Viva Insights is required to give you those unlimited suggestions for number of suggestions for you to be able to when you should send it. If you don't, remember, you can still schedule it, right? You could still schedule sending a message.
So you're just not going to get the
manually.
suggestions, or you're going to get an occasional suggestion.
Yeah. So this will be rolling out late February and completed by late March. And there's a screenshot that shows you a little bit about, and Darrell's kind of showing it. Hey, do you want to send this message? It shows in the screenshot, send a message when their work hours start Thursday, October 13th at 8:30. So you can be able to say, hey, wait, instead of saying good morning now, send it when they're actually going to see it. What do you think about this, Darrell, is this enough? And this is the conversation I have a lot with people in the community, at work. We're seeing a addition of another functionality for a Viva premium service. Premium meaning you have to pay for it, right? Mm-hmm. So is this enough, along with the other things, for you to go, I want to have insights? Because there's a lot of other insights too. Or is this one of those that is just nice to haves?
I think with insights, you can get information about your working habits and your team habits, but I like these other features appearing that are like guide rails that are helping you towards better working practices. This is certainly one of them. We also see a similar prompt in email, and I think that also relies on having insights too. So it's a good addition and a reminder that you do have this feature to be able to schedule to send a message at a specific time. That's my take. Would I buy insights just for these guide rails? Look, that would be a hard question to answer for a multi-thousand seat organization, and whether you want to just try it with your worst offenders.
Right.
I'm giving you insights now because you just keep sending me messages at 3 a.m. Ugh.
Yeah. Here. Oh, that might be a way. Maybe you should start doing things like that to your IT admin, and they'll just be like, here.
Why not?
There you go. Yeah. So I think that's I like it. Again, I had this conversation when they keep adding these features, which is amazing. Great, keep adding these features. It's one of those, like, initially, way back in the day, why would I get an E5? Conversations.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it was like, why would I get an E5? It's so much more, blah, blah, blah. And then we got more and more functionality, and it was like, oh, well, that's why I would get an E5. So it became a pretty easy decision based upon if you want this and this, then get an E5.
Yeah. I do like the conversation between Andy and Phil, that we need almost the AI assisted decision tree. Well, this is awesome. A simple one though, right? Hey, should you really send this?
Well, and one way you could really have a conversation with this is you could use the Walkie Talkie feature in Teams to talk to your IT admin and be like, hey, give me insights.
Yeah, I can see that happening. In fact, soon we're going to need insights for walkie-talkie. Are you sure you want to breaker this at 3 a.m. in the morning? Breaker. No. So walkie-talkie transmission usage reports on Teams Admin Center, MC 511153. Okay, this is more of an admin-oriented message, and we do tend to focus on ones that affect our end users and change that we might need to prepare for. But this might be useful for organizations that do use walkie-talkie. We've tried it a bit. It's an interesting way to connect and stay connected. I can see it being used quite well on maybe frontline needs where you issue everyone a phone rather than a radio. How does it work, Daniel? You set up a channel, or you use a channel within an existing team, and you initiate the walkie-talkie. You turn it on basically, and people are part of that based on the membership of the channel. They can send short audio messages. But this report, I guess it's a few years in the making because we've had walkie-talkie for a while. It tells you how you are progressing in terms of using it. So in your Teams Admin Center, let's just find the one that's a bit more complete. You will have a new, in your usage reports, the Teams walkie-talkie usage performance. You can go back, I think, as far as 30 days. You'll generate a report, and then we haven't done it because we don't have any activity, but there's this good Learn article in the Message Center message that goes through the different columns that you would get in that report. And quite detailed too, Daniel, like things like participants, unreachable participant count. So that'll be people that are part of that channel, but maybe were out of range or offline or at home and off the shift. Yeah, all sorts of stuff.
Well, if you're going to use the functionality, wouldn't it be great to actually know if people are
Yeah.
using the functionality? So this is good to have that for
Yep.
sure.
Yep. And like if Viva Insights throws another service in here, we could see another counter saying number of messages sent outside of business hours, naughty naughty. No, let's not go down that road. But like there's stuff there for your deep engineers that are interested in quality of service and packet counts and
Absolutely.
all those sorts of weird and wonderful things. You're not weird and wonderful engineer. We specialize. I'm
Well,
trying to
maybe.
dig myself out of this hole here.
I mean, maybe.
They could be weird. They
Maybe.
could. They're
We're all a
definitely,
little
they're
weird
definitely
in
wonderful.
some way.
They're definitely wonderful.
Definitely
Come on.
wonderful. But,
Yeah.
I think we can admit that we all have our quirks.
Yep.
Speaking of quirk,
Quirks.
I have no idea how that segues. Let's talk about some feeds.
Yeah. Feeds. Microsoft Feed, for example. Let's go back to the message. This has begun to arrive.
Yes.
Just a quick look at the message to begin with. Microsoft 365, Microsoft Feed. This caught me out. I tried to make a video about it and got a bit carried away and looked a bit deeper and stuff. So I won't take you through that. But a bit of a mouthful. Is it the Microsoft 365 feed or is it the Microsoft feed? And if it's the Microsoft feed, what else is coming in from Microsoft to the feed to feed you? But I began to get fed up with all the feeds.
Oh my goodness.
Because it's like I start my day in this, I start my day in that, and I just kind of wasn't sure where I should be looking or, yeah, anyway. So this Microsoft feed will begin to bring some of those sources together in one single smorgasbord or buffet or feed, as you will. The feed of feeds. One feed to rule them all. Keep it going, Darrell. Anyway, so it is
Please don't.
arriving at targeted release. What does it look like? Let's just bring this up. Get on over to our full screen time. There we go. So you might land on office.com, which is also Microsoft365.com. This is your landing page for stuff that you've been working on recently and recommended things that you might want to look at. Well, the feed is actually going into more detail about that very thing. And so it's arriving at a targeted release now, and eventually, of course, standard release. You will see things like what has Matt been working on recently, Excel documents, Word documents. There should be some thumbnails here. You can do various things from here to take a look at it. And at first glance, you're like, yeah, okay, whatever. It's basically the same thing, but it looks like it's in a social kind of platform. But it actually does make quite a connection to Viva Engage or Yammer, and relies on you following people to see what they're up to. Connections. Daniel, it also has quite a range of content. What I am finding is it's a bit finicky at the moment in terms of that infinite display. But if I go over here to view activity, and my own activity, documents I've been working on, cool, so this is what other people would see. And I get down to here, here's a Yammer post, which I could respond to. And somewhere down here, it also shows, oh, it's dropped off, meeting recordings. And so can you imagine the meeting wrap up, which will be part of the meeting invite, but imagine it also being here in a feed, and that the feed actually becomes truly a feed of all the different sources. What's your thoughts?
My thought is so many feeds, so little time.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's the point.
It is troubling sometimes of trying to figure out where am I supposed to go? And is the plan that the answer to that should not matter? Then, okay, I can get behind that. I actually can get behind that. Will it be confusing for users? Maybe, but I can get behind it doesn't matter where you're supposed to go. You just pick a place and there'll be a feed there for you to see and see all your stuff. Okay. Mm-hmm. But that's not what we are being told, really, right? And that's not been said. And so I'm trying to figure out, where do we go? Where is it that I go to find out? Do I go to this feed? Do I go to the Office feed, which is the Microsoft 365 feed now, I guess? Do I go to the OneDrive feed, right? So I go to OneDrive. We talked about there's a bit of a feed there.
Yeah.
Right? We talked about that last week. There's a feed on the SharePoint home. There's a feed we could put as a web part on a SharePoint page. There's the activity feed in Teams,
Viva
which is only
feed.
Teams. There's a Viva. I mean, there's so many feeds, and that's okay, but where are we supposed to go? And is it supposed to be, here's the two things. Here's what I've heard. One is, well, the feed is giving you the information where you are, right? So that's, wherever you are, that's the type of information you want. So therefore that's in the feed.
Sure.
However, the problem is that oftentimes, and we talked about this in the Outlook feed, in the OneDrive feed, with it's showing you all sorts of things not in OneDrive, in Teams sites, and it's like, well, is that an exception? Anyway? I'm not trying to be on a soapbox here at all. I'm really not. It's just the second one was it doesn't matter where you are. You can see all the things, but you can't. The feeds have different stuff in them. So I'm trying to figure this out, and hopefully I'm not the only one trying to figure this out. I'd like to know where I should go to see all my stuff. To see all of the feed stuff and see the smorgasbord of what you were talking about of all the activity. Does that make sense? Am I asking too much?
No. I think it's, we all have our different working styles, and I alluded to one which I think we all kind of relate to, that especially if we're working with people in lots of different places, we usually check our communications first, whatever that is, whether it's I'll check my email, I'll check Teams, what do I need to respond to quickly or add to my task list for later in the day, and then I start my day and plan around it. And that's one working style.
Yeah.
I think I like that this, I think, is just the start. I think that it even is alluded to in the name. If they're calling it the Microsoft feed, then put it another way, this is what Delve should have been. Huh? Delve just stayed at documents. Now we're starting to see documents, conversations, meeting artifacts. What else are we going to see in the feed? So it's one place to go. But the other question we need to ask is algorithm wise, what's going to appear here? We don't want everything to appear here, otherwise, the feed will just be like a raging torrent.
Well, but aren't we supposed to be smart? Like, not us, but because we're not. Aren't we? Isn't the system supposed to be smart and know what we should see? Now, I know what that means. We get into this whole controversy, kind of like Twitter has been the for you and the following, right? The Twitter going, here's what you should see. It's like, no, show me the stuff I want, all of the stuff. I know we'll get into that if we start doing this, but shouldn't the feed be smart enough to maybe not show me comments that don't mention me? Or, if there's information coming out of a chat that I'm a member of that team, but I haven't been mentioned, nor have I sent a chat, so don't show me that in my feed. Right? Versus if I'm mentioned, or if the document has been updated and it's a document that I actually have edited, maybe put it on there. But if it's just a document in a team site that I'm a member of, don't show it to me. I don't know. There's some holes there, and don't hold me to it, Daniel. Say, Daniel, that's an awful idea because I can poke holes in everything you just said. Okay, I get it. This is top of my head. I'm trying to think out loud. Shouldn't this be smart? And if it is, and if it could be, then that would be great.
Yeah. I managed to find the other two sources there, and this is, back linking it to the smartness of the service. Matt shared this document in Teams. Where is the document? It's actually stored in Matt's OneDrive. So we've got a few hops to get to that point, but it is something that I might be interested in because I belong to that team. I'm part of that team, which actually it should probably tell me which team it was shared in, but anyway.
Yeah.
And then here, Matt and you were invited to this meeting, and here's the recording that you might want to review. So rather than going back to your activity feed in Teams, finding that chat / meeting blob, and then going to the meeting wrap up, or rather than going back to the meeting invite and finding everything attached to that with the new intelligent wrap up something. This sort of stuff could appear in one feed as you just glance your way through. What are some things that I need to work on, add to my task list? It's going to be interesting to see this develop. I think that it's the graph team that are working on this based on some of the people responding to the content I created. Sure.
Wonderful.
Well, Daniel.
Well, Darrell, that is the end of our show for this week. We covered some of the highlights. If you just joined maybe midway through in the green room, as we call it, the pre-show chat, we were talking about the Teams plugin for the Elgato Stream Decks and the fanfare that happened, and people creating videos on it and everything, and then them pulling the plug-in. But check that out. Love to hear your feedback on that or on any of the other topics that we covered today. Would love to get your interaction in the chat. Make a comment on this episode. Check us out on the socials at 365MCS and engage with us. It may not be that we know the answer, but maybe someone else in the community would. So fantastic engagement there, and we'd love to promote you. So please do that. Thank you to those that already have tagged us and said they were watching. So appreciate that. And we will love to have you back for next week's episode when Darrell will say,
"Oh, gee, that's a Muppets reference. I can't think of a good one. Sorry, I can't."
I love how I put you on the spot.
You really
that was
did.
amazing.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
You brought me back in with a crash and a burn.
That was great.
Muppets fans, if you're a fan of Veterinarian's Hospital, the continuing story of a quack who's gone to the dogs.
There you go, people. Congratulations. You got to hear that from Darrell this week. Thank you so much for joining us. We will catch you next time.
Bye-bye.